Hey everyone, it's 10 types, and the Pokemon TCG has a lot of different Pokemon across the 10 types. However, certainly there are some Pokemon that are a lot better than others, and today I'm going to be going over the best Pokemon of every type, of course, in standard post-rotation. I don't remember the last time I made this a video like this. I'm pretty sure it was pre-rotation, and it might have been a little while ago, but I think it's definitely a really interesting debate. I haven't fully finalized all my choices actually at the time of recording this. Obviously, I will by the end of this, but there were some really interesting conversations we had, and of course, as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section on each of these as well. Maybe before the video starts as well, you could leave your prediction on what you think they are. But let's just hop right in. I will mention that it's just the best card, right? So it's not like, I guess we'll start with grass here, right? Grass is the first type, and we see that I think is really clearly between two cards. There's a handful of, good cards, certainly. Uncommon Fossil and I think actually more recently did a video where we ranked the types, and, there's a decent chunk of good grass Pokemon, but I think it's really between two. We actually recently as well, even more recently, made a video ranking the top 10 Pokemon in the standard format, and we both had Badoo and Teal'c Pontiacs on there. It's definitely between these two here. Of course, Badoo, a baby Pokemon, really low HP, really low damage, and stats in general, including retreat cost, and of course, very importantly, attack cost there, and item lock there, right? So this card is super powerful. And then we also have Teal'c Pontiacs letting you accelerate a basic energy from your hand to this Pokemon, or basic grass energy from your hand to this Pokemon, and then draw a card, and your attack is okay. And I will say Teal'c Pontiacs is the basis of the grass type decks in standard. So in terms of the Pokemon that best represents grass, it would definitely be Teal'c Pontiacs. That being said, that's not what we're rating here. We're rating the best Pokemon of each type. And while I do think these are both very good cards, I think it definitely is Badoo. Teal'c Pontiacs is a good card, but Badoo is a bit more universal, and I'd say that's what really pushed it over the edge there. Badoo definitely can be lower impact from time to time. It doesn't go in every deck or anything like that either, but it is very good for slowing down your opponent and can, I wouldn't say win you games all on its own, but kind of like be the main reason you win games from time to time. So Teal'c Pontiacs can be as well, and is more of a deck focus. So I do think it is close. I'd love to hear people's thoughts in the comment section. I definitely do think it is Badoo, especially with Badoo being in a slightly better deck than Teal'c Pontiacs, with obviously being quite good in Dragapult. I think it's like super good in Dragapult, and a lot of slower decks of the form, which I do think are the better decks. Then we have the next type here. This is definitely a weaker type. So grass is one of these stronger types, especially with two really good cards. Next type is fire type, definitely a much weaker type. I don't know if it's the weakest in terms of like the best Pokemon here. This one's also a little difficult because the cards just aren't super good. We have a few here. The first one that I guess I should talk about, I think there's a few options. I will mention Ceruledge. Ceruledge is good, I think. I mean, I think it's decent. I don't think it's a super good card, but I think it's a decent card, and probably the best main attacker here, in my opinion. I don't think it's super close. I think it is definitely the best main attacker. Obviously, that doesn't mean it's the best card. I mean, Grass, that wasn't the case. Teal'c Pontiacs isn't even a main attacker, but he was definitely not a main attacker. Then you also have N-Star Mantan. N-Star Mantan is actually pretty good as well, doing a good bench snipe damage here. And probably or I don't know if it is, but it's definitely close to being the best snipe, or I guess damage snipe, I should say. Pokemon in the TCG, obviously Dragapult is better there, but that's damage counters. And so, this card is pretty good and can be very impactful. And the third card is, which I guess I have to give it to, is Blaziken EX. To be honest, Blaziken EX isn't a card I've really played much with. I've definitely been playing Dragapult, and I've definitely not been playing Blaziken EX. I've been playing it, well, if you see my channel, and if you've seen my videos lately, you've seen that I've been playing a lot of Dragapult with Frostlass, which I think is super cool. Well, I don't know, super fun for me. I don't know if cool is quite the right word there, but I guess in a pun way, it is cool. But Blaziken is nice to be able to accelerate energies. It definitely works pretty well. Dragapult certainly can use the energy acceleration, especially with like Monkey Dory there. So it's not like it desperately needs like tons of energy, and then Blaziken EX's attack isn't super good. I mean, it's like usable, I guess, but it is just like worse than Dragapult for the most part. There was some like different typing stuff. I guess I have to give it to Blaziken EX. I do think it is a little close between the three I mentioned. With Blaziken EX being the least, not powerful, but least, it's more like mediocre impact, but it isn't a very good deck, right? It is one of the legitimately good ways to play Dragon Bolt. I personally don't think it is the best, but it is definitely really good at times there. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that is like good here. I'm just looking at the competitive cards. There's some like decent cards, but I'm gonna have to give it to Blaziken here. I guess I'll mention Moltres is like a decent card as well, but I'm not gonna give it to Moltres. Then the third type here is going to be Water. Water's really interesting. This is definitely a really interesting type, I think, in Standard right now, with a handful of cards. I just realized this doesn't have the perfect order card, so I need to make sure I don't miss cards in perfect order. I'm going to quickly check to see if there's any Pokemon. Okay, it does have some, I believe, just from the Champions League tournament. So theoretically, if there's a really good Pokemon from perfect order, then it will be there. But yeah, what I'm saying, Starmie's not there, or Mega Starmie isn't there. Starmie is a decent main attacker, I guess. It's not amazing, but it's by no means bad. It's pretty good. I was just talking about like Ceruledge, and this is probably better than, it's definitely better than Ceruledge. It's probably better than, or it might be better than any of the grass main attackers there. It's a decent card, definitely a good contender. Then Mega Frostlass EX as well. This card is pretty good. And then also regular Frostlass is also good, placing damage counters on Pokemon. Obviously, can be really annoying, can be not super relevant at times as well without like TM devolution and with, I'd say, generally less Pokemon abilities than we saw pre-rotation, especially in terms of main attackers there. In my video I made with Uncommon Fossil, we ranked evolution lines and Pokemon that like have to go together, so we had those two together, and that was clearly, I think, the best one. Actually, he didn't have it, but I did. But that's not how I'm doing this. I guess I'll say if you want to group them together, I would definitely say that's the best. But then you also have a couple of other support Pokemon. Also, as well as from Master Ponyx. I feel like this card's kind of post rotation. I don't really see it too much. It's definitely an alright card, but I'm not going to give it to that. There is there's Team Rocket Star Kuno, which prevents effective attacks onto your basic Team Rocket's Pokemon. This card is decent, honestly, like a really good Dragon Ball counter in Team Rockets. It can be really good, but then you have Psyduck as well. Psyduck has like the counter to Dusknoir there. This card is the definition of a counter card. It counters stuff, and that's all it does, right? It doesn't like do anything else. And it's a good counter, right? It like completely stops the thing it's countering. There isn't really any way around it for your opponent. That being said, the thing it counters is like, it's certainly good. We're definitely going to talk about Dusknoir when we get to Psychic, I imagine. But it's not like the single most dominant card in the game that like completely breaks the game. So it's a little hard to give it to this counter card. Honestly, I've been playing with so much Mega Frostlass lately, and that card is sometimes really good. It's not always really good. I mean, in terms of play, I feel like I'd kind of give it to Psyduck, but I can't bring myself to give it to Psyduck. So I guess I'll give it to, I kind of want to give it to Mega Frostlass. I'm not gonna lie. I'll just say I'm just gonna give it to Mega Frostlass. Don't know if it like is the best. I don't even know if it's better than regular Frostlass. I think they're pretty close in power level, though definitely very different cards. But this is like, I've heard so many people talk about how scary this card is, so I'll give it to Mega Frostlass. As I said, I think it's close between quite a few Pokemon there, and I don't think there's a single really amazing option. I imagine this is going to be in the lower half of the Pokemon we have today, but definitely a decent Pokemon, really powerful and like amazing at times, and other times it doesn't actually do anything, but it can be huge. Then we have the next type, which is Lightning. This is also a type that I don't really know what I'm going to say for. This is the type that is, I think, has the best Pokemon. So looking at Lightning here, most of these cards don't really see very much play. Have like Electric, and I guess you have Pikachu EX. I feel like Pikachu EX doesn't see like any play now. I can't think of the last time I've seen it. And then I think it's really between two cards here, in my opinion, in Joltik and what was the other one? I actually don't remember what the other one was. I think I'm going to give it to Joltik. It might have been Pikachu EX. Pikachu EX like can be played. It can be decent. But Joltik is sometimes played in Raging Bolt, I guess. If you're playing Pikachu EX, you might be playing Joltik. I mean, if you're playing Terra Box, I guess you're not. But if you're playing Joltik Box, you obviously are there. I think none of those are super good, but I guess I'll give it to Joltik. Again, you can play on Raging Bolt. Raging Bolt's pretty good, though I don't see it too much, but it is pretty decent. So I'll give it to Joltik here. I think the card is... I think there have been times when I don't think Joltik is a bad card. At times, I think I've said the deck is a bad deck, which I actually still think it I mean, when I played it, it never worked. When I played against it, I felt like it was super mid as well, and now people aren't really playing it. So the Lightning definitely a weak type with not too many good cards. I want to double check. Oh wow, Perfect Warrior does not have much in terms of Lightning there, but yeah, unfortunately, it is actually, if you didn't know, lightning is, I guess, my favorite type. Yellow is my favorite color, if you can't tell from like my logo, which if you don't know my logo, that's because you're probably not subscribed and watching my videos enough. So make sure you subscribe and like so you see my epic and awesome logo more. But yeah, lightning is kind of bad. So that is unfortunate. And it doesn't look like it's gonna get super good anytime soon. Maybe Mega Ninja. Oh, I was gonna say maybe Mega Ninja will be really good, so then you can hit it for weakness. But Mega Ninja also plays Greninja EX, which is fighting, so that's also bad. Anyways, let's move on from that to Psychic, a very, very powerful type here with potentially the best selection of Pokemon. Let's say potentially. I think it definitely has the best selection of Pokemon here. So first of all, we have, I guess I'll mention Alakazam. Alakazam's not winning it, even if you group, oh, that's not even the right Alakazam. Alakazam, here, even if you group in Kadabra, obviously it's decent, definitely a good, pretty solid card. I'm not gonna sit here and say it's bad, but it's not the best. And then you look at, I guess you also play Team Rex BDX as like a main attacker in a deck that's pretty good. But then you have Monkey Dory, definitely a pretty good, though somewhat techy Pokemon. Then you have Dusknoir, as well as Dusclops. I don't feel terrible grouping these two together. I would say Dusknoir is better. Certainly, I've been playing Dusclops and not Dusknoir, but Dusknoir is like a bigger impact Pokemon. And then Latias EX. I'm not going to give it to Dusknoir, I don't think. Again, it can be huge in terms of swinging games. Can get shut down by one card, though, and requires a decent amount of commitment. And even if you use it, you need to use it at a really good time and really shut down your opponent. If you can't do that, then you're just kind of spending resources to trade evenly with your opponent, in which case that doesn't really get you anywhere, right? Except behind, because you're spending your resources to do that. So ultimately, Dusknoir not quite going to be there. Monkey Dory, I think, is like a decent Pokemon because it allows you to counter some spread stuff, which, as I said, I think slow decks are really good, which are mostly spread. I mean, Dragapult, right? Dragapult's really good, and Monkey Dory is quite good against Dragapult. Also, I will mention it will be getting a counter in Chaos Rising, which is like a thing in Patrat. It's like a true counter to Monkey Dory, essentially. But that it isn't relevant to this discussion. Figured I'd mention it, though, if you didn't know. But it is a little awkward in terms of energy typing, and you can't really accelerate it to it super well, and it's named most of the time. It forces in another type. If it doesn't, then it is good. But the decks that are running Darkness Energy don't usually run, or they do run Mukidori, but they kind of need to add in other pieces to support it, or it's not like perfect synergy there. It's definitely a good card, but not a centerpiece card. I am going to go with Latias EX, I think. Latias EX is really good, at giving your basic Pokemon in play no retreat cost. This is really, it's good, right? It allows you to be able to, it's searchable off of Ultra Ball, no Nest Ball, unfortunately. So it is kind of, I mean, it's not like super awkward to search, but it's a little awkward to search. You can get off of Cyrano as well, though. And actually, with that idea, you see decks playing Claudia EX as well as Mega Kangaskhan EX, which you see even here with the Dragapult EX deck, with a variety of different basic EXs and Pokemon in general. And you have this like kind of basic package where you're using Latias EX plus Mega Kangaskhan EX to get really good value out of the two. And be getting extra draw. Yes, that's more Mega Kangaskhan EX, but it is definitely in some part due to Latias EX there. And then also it is just like a searchable switch essentially, which is pretty good. Its downside is pretty minimal, takes up some bench space and is a bit of a liability, but it's not like horrible in either of those departments. So definitely a really, really good card potentially. It's not always super impactful. Generally, though, it like helps smooth out your deck in a pretty good way, and it's a consistency booster, I guess, and also it allows you to potentially do some nice stuff with Mega Kangaskhan or I don't know. The main thing that pushes it over the edge, in my opinion, is Mega Kangaskhan. Definitely not. I'd say all three of these cards are, support Pokemon. Dusknoir can be a big game swinging Pokemon. Latias EX, I guess, is the least game swinging of the three. I think Munkidori is probably the most situational of the three. I could definitely see it going any way here, though I definitely do think that Latias EX is the best of these. This is also played like it could be a one of or two of. It's not really ever going to be more than that, which the other ones could definitely be, especially Munkidori. But that's because one of it gets the job done. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else I missed from Psychic. Psychic, as I said, like super powerful type. There's some other like decent Pokemon here, I guess. They're not like super amazing. It's definitely between those three. Alakazam's also alright. I'd definitely say it's worse than all three of those though. And Dusclops as well, I guess. And the next type here is Fighting. Fighting's a really interesting type. Wait, we see Barbaracle here. Oh, okay, someone played it at the Champions League. But then we have, obviously, Fighting has some good stuff. Notably Mega Lucario EX, and that deck. That being said, the main piece in that deck, there's a few main pieces, but the main Pokemon piece is going to be Lunatone. I think this category is pretty clearly Lunatone. I don't think it's super close. Lunatone lets you just cut a Fighting from your hand to draw through. You do need Solrock as well. I guess Lunatone without Solrock is better than Solrock without Lunatone, because you could attack. Solrock doesn't do anything without Lunatone there. But yeah, Lunatone is able to draw you a good chunk of cards. It's not a crazy consistency booster, because you do need the energy, but it's like a decent consistency booster, and then it draws you a bunch of cards, right? So it's like really powerful. This really just good draw engine, getting you a bunch of cards every turn. You need to put some resources into it, but it's not too bad. The decks that goes in are like, usually they don't synergize too well with Lunatone, but they synergize okay with it. And then, I mean, yeah, it's a card that's super. When I say they don't synergize super well, fighting decks with like specifically Mega Lucario, you'll see it there. I guess you want some energies in the discard, but not like too many. You're not looking to play like a ton of energies. On the other hand, Ledge loves energies in the discard and wants lots of energies. That being said, it doesn't really need fighting energies outside of the fact that you need to play it for Lunatone. That being said, Lunatone is like super good. Arguably the best engine in the game. It's amazing. It's so good. It's really fun as well. I really like the design there, but it is definitely the most powerful there. Then the next type is, I believe, Darkness here. Darkness is this type with some, decent cards, but there's definitely one that is the best. Actually, a card I haven't played with too much lately. I wouldn't say forgotten about, is definitely one of the best cards in Standard. That's Fezandipity EX, arguably the best Pokemon in Standard. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's like super close. The next best might be maybe Mega Absol, which is like fine. There's Enzoric, I guess, as well, and Mars Grimstyle EX. So those are all fine. But Fezandipity EX is like the best draw Pokemon in the game, I'd say. Letting you draw 3 or 4 of your Pokemon stocked out last turn. You can only use one flip the script ability per turn, but this card's so good. It's not really a liability. Its attack is shocking. Like, I've seen it actually used a good chunk post rotation compared to pre rotation. Right, I like literally never saw it used. I don't think maybe once or twice ever. And I mean, it's like the most played Pokemon in the game because it's really good. This card is just super good, helping you stay in the game. The thing is about Lunatone as downsides, where it's well, so that takes up 2 bench slots essentially, which can be awkward. Kind of. It's a little weird with Solrock also providing some value there. But with Fezandipity EX, it's only 1 bench slot. Yes, it is a 2-price liability, but it helps you when you don't really have much going on, right? Ultimately, it's a card that's good because it works. It does have a condition. It's not unconditional, but if you're knocked out last turn, you don't need more stuff. If you get hit by hand disruption, you don't need more stuff. You need it in play. The only reason it's on play is because you want to save it. There can be reason to play it earlier, though. It is definitely a it's a really, really good card. You don't need me to tell you this, but it's one of the best Pokemon in the game. Then we have Metal type. Metal type, we have, let's see. This is not a very large selection of Pokemon. This is also one that I really struggled with. I guess I'll mention a card that's not on here, which is Steven Dragos EX as well. There's that. There's Metang, and there's also like the Metal Mega Basics. There's handful of cards. I think the best, and this is so weird because it like doesn't really do anything on its own. There's also a Caledon EX, and there's Genesect. Genesect just like plays some. It's okay. I don't know. Tell me in the comment section what your thoughts are on Genesect. I don't think this card is super good. I guess it makes sense in Alakazam to stop unfair stab. I don't really play Alakazam much, and the decks I play with are like, I don't know, they're usually like super good or super bad against Alakazam, so it doesn't really matter there. But I definitely see this a little. It's kind of cool, but I'm not going to give it to that. I'm going to give it to the other Genesect EX, letting you once per turn search for 2 Metal Evolution Pokemon. This is a card I somewhat underrated, but it allows you to, search out a bunch of Pokemon. It was really good with Nest Ball. Without Nest Ball, I definitely think it's a bunch worse, I guess. But the Metal Evolution decks are a little bit better. Well, okay, no. the Metal Evolution decks that survived rotation are better than they were pre-rotation. Goldengo was still better than any of them. Pre-rotation was very clearly Goldengo. Again, I think Goldengo EX is the single biggest hit to a type of any card because Metal is now kind of bad. Just like EX though is still very very good at letting you search for 2 Metal Evolutions, and with Batang or Steven's Medigo CX, you're looking for probably a handful of Metal Evolutions. So it'll smooth things out and just really help your deck set up a bit better there. It is a good card. It's not a broken card, but I do think it is the best Metal Pokemon, maybe. I also think Doublade is pretty decent. I played against it like the other day and it was good. I don't remember if the Doublade player actually won. I think they did. It was a very strange game. But anyways, the Doublade is definitely an interesting card in my opinion that I think is decent. I don't think it's been played too much, but I think it's hard. But definitely I am going to give it to Genesect DX. Actually, Genesect DX is very good in that deck as well. Then we have the next type, which is, I believe, Dragon. Let me double check that I'm not missing a type. That would be kind of awkward if I missed a type, especially because I am literally 10 types. But yeah, no. So then we have Dragon, which is represented by N, not D, because this one is actually closer than I was thinking, because I'm slowing up Dragapult EX, Dracoloak, and Dracoloak there. Obviously, Dragapult EX is the best deck in the game, and it's by far the best deck in the game. The second best deck in the game might be Raging Bolt. I don't really think it is. I think there is kind of sort of a world where it could go to Raging Bolt, but not really. I think that doesn't really exist. Especially with the fact that Raging Bolt has not been played that much. I mean, it's not been played as much as people were, at least as much as was being played in Japan. I think it is a good deck, I guess. I don't really play it. As I said, I play Dragapult. So the question is it Dragapult EX or Dracoloak? Over time, I've gotten higher in Dracoloak lore and Dragapult EX, and I think I'm still going to leave it to Dragapult EX, right? Dragapult EX letting you do really decent damage to the active. I mean, I mentioned Blaziken EX earlier for fire, having an okay attack, but just worse than Dragapult's. And that one did 200 active, right? This does 200 active, which is pretty decent, taking 2 shots pretty consistently on anything, and then you do 6 damage counters on your opponent's bench any way you like. This is somewhat counterable through the use of Battle Cage, but only kind of sorta. It's somewhat counterable through Lowe's Clefairy EX. Oh, I didn't mention that for Psychic. It's definitely worse than those other Psychic cards, but it's a decent card as well because Dragapult EX is so good there. And yeah, I mean, ultimately this card is somewhat difficult to deal with. Certainly Dracoloak helps it a lot, but I am going to go with Dragapult EX being... I mean, it's just so powerful and difficult to deal with. Yes, it kind of needs some supporting stuff around it to really fully do its thing, but it's really good, and it's pretty versatile. I mean, yes, it has 2 different types of energy. It's a stage 2. It sounds not super versatile. It sounds kind of clunky, but I guess when it came out, it was a little clunky. Though it was all right. But it's gotten to a point where it has essentially all the best support pieces in the game work with it, and synergize so well with it, like Badoo and Dust, or even Monkey Door. Monkey Door doesn't really work with it too well, actually. It's probably better if Monkey Door wasn't in the game for this card, because it's a bit of a counter. But as I said, there's so many counters. This deck is still so good. The heart of the deck is going to be the main attacker there. Maybe the last type here, which is colorless. Colorless is also a little interesting to discuss here. Dunsparce is decent. Noctowl is also decent. I think Noctowl is quite good. This stuff around is kind of mad. Blood and Wrestling EX, I always forget about this card. It's still good. I would definitely say it's a weaker post-rotation. But then it's really between 2 EXs here. One which is Mega One, which isn't. That's Mega Kangaskhan EX and Meowth EX. I've not really played too much with these cards. I've certainly played with them some, and I guess a good chunk with Mega Kangaskhan, though not too much pre-rotation. And obviously I haven't played Meowth EX pre-rotation. I played it some post-rotation. If you saw my podcast episode with William Collin Fossil, he was a lot higher on this card than I was. That being said, I was still higher on Meowth than Mega Kangaskhan. It allows you to escape bad hands. And yeah, that's really good. It also allows you to get boss for a game. Essentially, those are the 2 things you're mainly looking to do with this card. And those 2 things are super good. 2 of the best things to do in the Pokemon TCG, and allows you to do them. It is a huge liability pretty consistently, and really sucks to start. It is probably the worst Pokemon in the TCG to start that you're going to be seeing a good amount. But it's still very good, and I would say the heart of decks, but I'd say it is very good. The difference between this and Mega Kangaskhan EX, Mega Kangaskhan EX obviously can be an attacker there. Can be a bigger liability if you have that being a 3-prizer is worse for you, though. I'd say in general, it's definitely not a bigger liability than Meowth. But then also it's a card that is able to draw you cards consistently, though it isn't going to be super powerful. Drawing 2 cards every turn is nice. You obviously need to put in some form of switching, potentially like double switching, so it can be clunky, but overall Mega Kangaskhan EX is pretty good, but Meowth EX I think is going to take the cake here. So the cards we got, I'm going to go type by type, looking through Mega Evolution because it has every type. For Grass, I went with Badoo. Badoo is just very good. It's Badoo. For Fire, I went with Blaziken EX. For Water, I think I went with Mega Froslass, which I think it is closer. That's definitely one of the closer ones. Lightning, I went with Joltik. Again, a kind of mediocre Pokemon, but definitely decent. Psychic, I went with Latias EX. Fighting, definitely went with Lunatone. Darkness, obviously, Pheasantip EX. Metal, went with Genesect, which I do definitely think is the best, though it definitely feels a little weird there. Dragon, I went with Dragapult. It kind of just feels right as well, let's be honest. Then Colorless, I think Meowth EX is definitely going to be the best one. They are definitely hard to see. Obviously, it's the newest there by a little bit. The next newest, I think, the next newest, I guess, is Mega Frostlass. And then after that, you have Lunatone. And I think those are the only ones of the Mega era. I don't actually remember each and every one I said now in all the sets they're from, but yeah, definitely I think a really interesting mix of Pokemon there. You got Pokemon of different stages of every stage. You got Megas and single prizes and two prizers and support Pokemon and attackers and stuff. So overall, I think there's some really cool Pokemon in the Pokemon TCG. I think Standard's in a pretty good place. I I am really enjoying it, but I hope you are too. But if you're enjoying my videos, make sure you like and subscribe. Also, huge shouts to my YouTube members for supporting my channel. It really does help me. But honestly, just subscribing and liking, and also just like enjoying my videos and commenting and stuff really helps out. Also, I do have a Discord server. I will be doing some custom card stuff as well. I am excited for that. Nothing like crazy huge planned, though. I do still have the 30th anniversary contest open, and I guess we'll be opening one up for Gen 10 at some point as well, once we know like any Pokemon from it other than the basic starters. But anyways, I hope you all enjoyed, and as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.